Alright, in order to get our signal into the Helix from the Kemper, what you want to do is create a couple sends and returns. We're going to do a mono send. This is going to go out to our Kemper. We want to turn off dry through. There we go. Back in from the Kemper, we want a return. I'm going to do return 1, 2. And this is coming from the left, right out of the Kemper. I'm going to, so this is my guitar up here in the multi. I'm going to send this down from the multi to path 2A. It goes send, return, and then goes out again. Just for my purposes here, my output has to be 1, 2 so I can get a recording signal. But we should hear the Kemper now. Great, the Kemper's happening. In order to send the test signal from the impulse response utility, we have to do a couple little things here. Set the path of 1A to something, an output you're not using. I'm not using my XLR output, so we're getting nothing there. The input of path 2A, we want to set that to USB 3.4. USB 3.4, send out to the Kemper, return, and then USB 1, 2. The most important thing you want to remember is to turn off your amplifier section of your stack. You can leave the EQ on, it's personal preference, but you want to make sure you turn off the amp part of the Kemper. You want to also make sure you leave off all your delays, reverbs. Any time-based modulation effects will definitely mess up your impulse response. Once you've done that, we're going to go down to impulse response utility. If you can't find this, just do a Siri or a Spotlight search, sorry. So impulse, there we go. All right, impulse response utility. New, don't save. Okay, make sure your audio input and your audio output is from Helix. Helix, both sides. Channels 3, 4, channel 3. And then we want to set to record. I'm just going to show a little test signal here. And you notice it was just into the yellow bit, which is great. And now let's do the IR sweep. And that is done. So we're going to go test IR on our desktop. Yeah, that's fine. The next step is to deconvolve, which actually creates the impulse response. Wow, and there it is. Let's zoom in, not that much. You can see there's a little bit of space before and a little bit of space behind. You can zoom in pretty far. I'm going to do this. Select that. It looks like it ends there. Just zoom in a bit more. Yeah, it looks good. And we're going to crop. There we go. And we're going to create setting. I'm going to call this Space Designer Setting Test IR Kemper. Okay, and this is in Music, Audio, Music Apps, Impulse Response, Test IR Kemper, SDIR. Great. Next thing we're going to need to do is convert it from an SDIR file into a WAV file. I've read there are multiple ways to do this. The way I learned to do this is in Audacity. So what we're going to do is open. We're going to go Audio Music Apps, Impulse Responses, Test IR Kemper, SDIR. Open. That's fine. Read the files directly from the original. Sure. All you have to do is open that. Export as WAV. Test IR Kemper. I'm just going to do that to the desktop again. I'm just going to leave that blank right now. and your IR has been created. Let's go back to HX Edit. All right, in HX Edit, let's just set up the path again so we can hear the Kemper. So I'm going to set this to path 2A. I'm going to turn that to none. And my USB is fine there. Now this is what the Kemper sounds like. And remember, I've turned off the amp. That's just EQ and cab. And that's what we created an impulse from. So here's the amp back on. Now let's import the impulse we just created. I'm going to import it to slot 70. There we go. Snapshot 1, let's just rename this Kemper. And then snapshot 2, let's turn off our send and return, so we're not getting any Kemper there. Throw an impulse response in there. Let's go to 70. Now what we have to do is insert an amp. The amp I was using was the matchless DC30 channel 2. And you want to make sure you just choose amp, not amp and cab. And I've never tried preamp, but I'm pretty sure just the level will be too low. So we go to amps. We want matchstick channel 2, which is line 6 version of matchless DC30 channel 2. And let's just see. These are all the stock settings. Okay, so it seems a little bit louder than the Kemper right now, so I'm just going to turn the channel volume down. Whoops. Let's put that back. Here's channel volume down. All right, so snapshot 2 is set up. Let's rename that Helix IR. So Helix IR is snapshot 2, Kemper. Let's turn that off and that off. So now it's just the Kemper. Well, I think that sounds pretty close. That's our Kemper. Let's go back to the Helix IR. I think we've done it. So that's the process I've used to create an impulse response of the Kemper cab. Obviously, there are a few little differences here and there. Throw on an EQ and maybe fix that up just a bit more. Within the impulse response, there's also the high cut and the low cut. Let me just switch over so you can see that. So there's the high cut and low cut. You can mess with that to your liking, but for a quick and dirty method of grabbing an impulse response of the Kemper cabinet, this sounds really good. Kemper again. Let's switch just to the Helix. Yeah. I'm just going to bring that up a bit. Obviously, some minor differences EQ-wise, but yet that can be corrected quite easily. There you go. That's a way to get your Kemper sound into your Helix. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Don't subscribe. I don't care. All right. I'll see you guys on the road. Bye.